This is the Wing Woman Show. Are you ready?
You're listening to The Wing Woman Show, and this is your host, Morgan Bars. Today on the podcast, we are taking a step back and a moment to pause as we reflect on the very first month of 2021. I feel like I say this with every month and every year that goes by, but it feels like it is just going by so quickly. And after a year like 2020, I feel like a lot of my goals kind of shifted for this new year. And I had goals like I wanted to maintain an emphasis on my health and an emphasis on being intentional about spending time with my family. So some of my personal goals shifted a little bit. And I think as we kind of pick up and get into the hustle and bustle of what our world used to look like, or maybe this new normal, I think it's important to kind of check in with ourselves and make sure that we're still on track, even though it is the very first month of the year. So regardless of if you had a fabulous month in pursuit of that big goal, or maybe you had kind of an off month, whatever that looked like for you, I encourage you to kind of take a step back with me today and reflect on where you're at with everything going on as we're moving into February. Here at Wing Woman, we have already been making lots of different shifts because this is our 1 year in business. We are celebrating this month. Wow, that's so crazy to say. In the next week, I think we're turning 1. It's so exciting. But I think it's just funny because reflecting back to this time last year, the vision that I had and how things kind of work out, it's like in a version 2.0 now because it's so different. And I think that's the coolest part about owning a business or pursuing that big idea, is that you get to see how it kind of transcends into something that you never even thought it would be like. And that's what it's kind of been. So I feel like this entire past year, our very first year in business, was kind of like a step in the right direction to set that foundation for us. And this year, things are already just rolling into motion so quickly, which is everything that you want when you're that big idea-driven person working towards that big dream. So all good things happening here at Wing Woman HQ. We decided this year to set a word of the year. It's something that I usually do personally for myself. My word of the year was consistency, because that is on the personal side. I chose consistency again, and I usually get it. I'm not wearing it right now, but I usually get a bracelet made from Etsy to wear it around my wrist with that word of the year. So for about 2 years, I chose consistency because it was a lot for me to balance going to school, trying to start up this business because I knew that that's what I wanted to do full time after graduation. So I chose consistency because I knew every day by just showing up the best that I could, even if not everything got done and even if it wasn't perfect, and if I was taking steps backwards some days, only to go forward, like as long as I was consistently showing up for those projects, it would all work out. So 2 years later, I will probably move on to a new personal word of the year next year, but that is still my personal word of the year, as in being more consistent with the podcast, my own content, and growing Wing Woman. But for the business, we chose the word. I feel like I should do like a little drum roll here or something, but we chose the word build. And there's a couple of different reasons why I felt like that word was really aligned with where we're going this year. Like I said, this entire past year was really setting that foundation. Like there were so many months that I felt like, as the visionary for this organization, I was trying to figure out like, how do all these different moving pieces fit together? How can I make it into something that is scalable? So there was a lot of those more like foundational, I call them like baby business concepts, that I was trying to still figure out. And I had just graduated college, so it was definitely a time of like setting that foundation for myself and setting the tone and the precedent for what was to come, which is why I think this year is so important and so exciting, because we're just building on that foundation. And there's lots of different building blocks that have to kind of fit into place for that. And that's what I want to go over today. because those are the different things on the day-to-day level that I'm really trying to focus on to get the business to where I want it to be by the end of the year. And a lot of those things are, while this past year I focused on like the foundation of like the services that I want to offer, how to actually develop processes and routines for my assistant to follow. Now we're kind of getting past that and we're ready to move forward, which is required a different version of not only me, but a different version of the business and me and my assistant as a whole to show up every single day. So there's two main building blocks that we are focusing on. The very first one is time blocking. And I know that time blocking is a very popular concept when it comes to all things organization and time management. I have probably tried to time block my schedule multiple times throughout the year, and I always will do it for like maybe 2 weeks, and then something will come up and I'm not able to fit the date into that schedule, and I end up falling back into my old habits where I mix in a bunch of different activities on the same day. So let's say I might have a call and then I might be trying to film TikToks, and it's very difficult to kind of flip that switch, especially for me, because at Wing Woman, we not only have our client work and multiple different clients in multiple different industries, but we have Gals with Goals, we have other initiatives. So it was very hard and almost getting overwhelming for me to flip that switch throughout the day multiple different times. And at first I thought it wasn't a big deal. So I got these whiteboards that I hung up in my office and I wrote out every single little project on it that we have, like our main overarching initiatives, like Gals with Goals, our clients, the podcast, things like that. And I would write down, just jot down some main goals for that. And that was great. But then I would sit here and see all of it, and it was so overwhelming. So now I have made the switch to time blocking, and I am committing to actually staying true to those time blocked slots. So I didn't actually go about time blocking my day-to-day schedule. I did it in days. So I have this written down right here. I have an entire day for podcasts, relationships, client work, and like a CEO day. So for the podcast, like I am dedicating one whole day to, that's when I'm going to record podcasts. That's when I'm going to have guests to be on other podcasts, to reach out, to coordinate. Like that is one whole day. Now, of course, other things are a little mixed in just because of the nature of what it's like to actually run a business, but that is the main focus of the day. And then I have an entire day for relationships. So that's like if I want to connect with someone new, reaching out to connect with people, having coffee dates, that is all on the same day. Client work, that's when we just get all of our client calls done, all of our client work. And then CEO days, which is something new that I'm doing, where I want to be able to, as a CEO, like incorporate like learning time where I can still take time to dedicate into learning new upcoming trends in the industry. That's when I'm going to do all my admin work, invoices, things like that, because as we're growing, there's still those kinds of tasks that I have to take care of on a weekly basis. So that's what I'm trying out. And honestly, it has been really working for me. I feel a lot more productive, less overwhelmed, and I feel like everything has its little place and everything has its little time. So like if I was a mother to all of my projects, all my little kids still have their one-on-one time with their mom. And it's really been working out for me. Another part of that is Asana. So we have always used Asana. It is a project management software similar to like something like Notion or Monday.com. There's lots of different versions on it. I've always been a paper planner kind of gal until I got on Asana, and it is so nice to be able to organize all those different projects. And you also are able to kind of keep your team updated at the same time. So I'm able to keep my team updated with everything going on and all the different client work. So really staying true to updating it though, because although we've always had Asana, I haven't always kept it as up to date as it needed to be. So that was a major thing for me too. And that's really kind of, it's all encompassing in that very first building block, which is like, I guess you could say like that first building block for our year is all about time management, whether it is time blocking, figuring out like what tasks are taking us the longest amount of time. And we track all of that through Asana. So we use Time Tracker to track how much time we're spending on each task, which has been very interesting for me because I actually didn't realize that I worked the amount of hours I actually did during a week. I guess, I mean, that's a good thing because I enjoy it so much, but I didn't realize how many tasks that really need to come off of my plate. So that's been very eye-opening too, but it all comes down to like now we have that foundation, but we need to take it a step further and figure out like how can we optimize it? And that's really that first building block of time management. So just to recap that one, that's all like time blocking, using Asana. I definitely recommend some kind of like online project management tool. Even if you don't have a team at the moment, it's good to kind of start practicing to get ready and get yourself in that place so that when the time comes, you're ready to go. And so those are really the main things. The second building block that I'm really focusing on this month is something that I wanted to get back to. And I feel like after last year, growing a business and then the pandemic hit and all of that craziness, I want to get back to more of the heart-centered relationships that are really the reason why I started this business. I love those personal touches. I love being really intentional about sending cards. And I think after my podcast interview last week with Melanie Griffin of Spread Your Sunshine, it really inspired me to get back into doing that. And I've kind of known that I've been putting it on the back burner just because of the pandemic. I'm so used to going to events and being really active in my community. So I got out of the routine of doing that. And there's no excuse for that, really. That's why I have this business. That's why I started it, because I'm so passionate about helping other people and just being present in their pursuit of whatever their big goal is, whether it is in their career or their personal goals, and just maintaining those community connections. So a couple of ways we're doing that, definitely sending out lots of cards. We actually have our own stationery where it has our pictures at the bottom of it. I love including pictures on stationery because I feel like when the world goes back to normal and you can actually attend events, it helps people that you may have met remember you and kind of place a face with the name when they see your picture. It's a small little thing, but I also feel like it's a really personalized, fun touch. So we're doing lots of that. More interacting, more pro bono work for community clients. So we're working and partnering with some more community organizations to be able to help people who are pursuing a lot of important community initiatives build those personal brands so that they can get the exposure that they need. So those are really the two main building blocks that we focused on in January, and we'll kind of continue to focus on in February, in March, and as the year progresses. Um, and that is another habit that I am kind of glad that I have developed and gotten over, because previously I would try to instill all of these different habits all at the same time. So like I feel like a health example is the easiest example to talk about, where when you get really inspired to be intentional about your health, you'll say, oh, like I'm going to start going to the gym, drinking the green smoothies, eating well. And it wasn't until I probably saw a TikTok in November or December about someone who had this amazing transformation. It wasn't a health transformation, but it was kind of like an up level in their career. And they talked about how they just started adding like one little simple thing every week, which it sounds like such a simple concept to understand, but completely different. I feel like when you're actually inspired to pursue something, to talk yourself down to just implementing those small things, because it helps you be more consistent in the long run. And so that's kind of where my head is when I say that we are breaking up that word of the year into those mini building blocks so that I can still have the energy to pursue the goals that we have for the entirety of the year versus just a short sprint. And I hope that I inspire you to do the same. So whether you have had a very successful first month of the year, or whether you are falling back down a little and you're kind of looking to get started again, that is my best recommendation for you, whether it is personally or with your business. And please let me know if you wouldn't mind leaving a review on the podcast. I would greatly appreciate it. We have some very exciting guests, and you can just hit the stars at the bottom of this podcast and leave a review. That would definitely help us. And I will talk to you soon next week.